September 22nd, 2023, 7:47 a.m. Security cameras inside a small kitchen capture a woman preparing coffee. She's wearing a bathrobe, hair pulled back. Morning routine, nothing unusual. She reaches into the cabinet, pulls out a prescription pill bottle, opens it, tips 2 capsules into her palm. But she doesn't take them. She twists the capsules open, empties the powder into the coffee mug, stirs carefully, watches the powder dissolve completely. She carries the mug to the living room, hands it to her husband with a smile, kisses him on the forehead, tells him she loves him. He drinks it. 47 minutes later, he's convulsing on the floor, gasping for air, dying. She doesn't call 911 for another 12 minutes. And when police finally tested that pill bottle, they found her DNA inside it. Not on the outside, inside, where only someone opening those capsules and handling the powder would leave traces. She'd been planning this for weeks, documenting his symptoms, building a narrative of natural illness, creating the perfect cover for murder. But she made one mistake, one microscopic mistake that would expose everything. Rebecca Chen was a pharmacist, 41 years old, worked at a CVS in suburban Maryland for 16 years, respected in her community, known for her attention to detail, her professionalism, her knowledge of medications and their effects. She'd been married to David Chen for 19 years. They met in college, both studying chemistry, both ambitious, both building careers in pharmaceutical sciences. David worked as a quality control specialist for a medical device company. Stable job, good salary. They lived in a 3-bedroom house in Silver Spring. No children, 2 dogs. From the outside, they looked like any other middle-aged couple, comfortable, settled, unremarkable. But beneath that surface, something had been rotting for years. David had started having health problems in early 2023. Stomach issues, nausea, fatigue, dizziness. He'd see his doctor, run tests. Everything came back normal. His physician suggested stress, maybe anxiety, recommended lifestyle changes. The symptoms would improve for a week or 2, then return, worse each time. By August 2023, David was losing weight, couldn't keep food down, missing work regularly. His colleagues noticed the decline, suggested he see a specialist, get a second opinion. Rebecca was supportive, attentive. She'd make him special meals, easy on the stomach, herbal teas. She'd adjust his medications. She was a pharmacist after all. She knew what might help. She'd bring him his morning coffee every day, fresh brewed, just the way he liked it. 1 sugar, splash of cream. He trusted her completely. That trust was the weapon she used to kill him. September 22nd, 2023, started like any other Friday. David had taken the day off work, too sick to go in. He'd been feeling worse all week. Rebecca suggested he rest, stay home. She'd take care of everything. She left for her shift at CVS at 6:30 a.m. Her usual time, kissed David goodbye, told him to call if he needed anything. But she came home an hour later, unexpected, said she'd forgotten something, needed to grab paperwork from her home office. David was still in bed, half asleep. She told him she'd make coffee before heading back. He thanked her, said he appreciated it. The kitchen security camera captured everything that happened next. Rebecca moved through the familiar routine, filled the kettle, ground the beans, set up the French press, all normal, all ordinary. Then she opened the cabinet above the microwave, the one where they kept medications, vitamins, supplements. She pulled out a prescription bottle, digoxin, a heart medication. David didn't take digoxin. He had no heart condition. The prescription was actually for Rebecca's elderly mother, who'd passed away 6 months earlier. Rebecca had kept the bottle, kept it filled, for this moment. She opened the bottle, removed 2 capsules, twisted them carefully, separating the halves, tapped the powder into David's coffee mug. Both capsules, complete dose. Digoxin is a dangerous drug when misused. In therapeutic doses, it helps regulate heart rhythm. In toxic doses, it causes nausea, vomiting, confusion, irregular heartbeat, seizures, cardiac arrest. The symptoms mimic natural illness, especially in someone who's already been sick for months, someone whose medical history shows ongoing gastrointestinal issues and fatigue. Rebecca stirred the coffee, watched the powder dissolve. No visible trace, no unusual smell, no way for David to know. She carried the mug to the bedroom, handed it to him with a smile. He was sitting up now, checking his phone. He took the mug gratefully. Thank you, babe. You're the best. She kissed his forehead. I love you. Get some rest. She left the house at 7:52 a.m., returned to work, clocked in, filled prescriptions, helped customers. Normal Friday morning. David drank the coffee. By 8:15 a.m., he started feeling strange, more nauseous than usual, dizziness worse than before. He texted Rebecca. Not feeling great. Think I might need to see a doctor today. Rebecca responded immediately. Do you want me to come home? I can leave work. David replied, No, I'm okay for now, just letting you know. By 8:34 a.m., the symptoms intensified. Severe nausea, heart racing, confusion. David tried to stand, couldn't maintain balance, fell back onto the bed. He texted Rebecca again. Something's really wrong, feel terrible. Rebecca didn't respond. David called her, straight to voicemail. He left a message, voice shaking. Babe, I don't know what's happening. I feel really bad. Can you come home, please? No response. By 8:47 a.m., David was in crisis. Heart palpitations, vision blurring, breathing difficult. He tried to call 911, fumbled with his phone, dropped it, couldn't reach it from the floor. He collapsed beside the bed, convulsing, gasping, alone. Rebecca's shift at CVS ended at 9:00 a.m. She clocked out, checked her phone, saw David's missed calls, his texts, his voicemail. She didn't rush home, didn't call 911, didn't respond to his messages. She stopped at Starbucks, ordered a latte, sat in her car for 11 minutes, drinking slowly, checking social media. Then she drove home, pulled into the driveway at 9:23 a.m., calm, unhurried. She walked inside, called David's name, no response. She found him on the bedroom floor, unconscious, not breathing properly, foam around his mouth, body still twitching slightly. She stood there watching for 3 minutes. Then she pulled out her phone, dialed 911. Her voice on the recording was panicked, desperate, perfect performance. 911, what's your emergency? My husband. He's on the floor. He's not responding. I think he's having a seizure. Please send help. The operator asked questions. Rebecca answered, crying now, begging them to hurry. Paramedics arrived at 9:31 a.m., 8 minutes after Rebecca's call. They found David in cardiac arrest, started CPR immediately, administered emergency medications, loaded him into the ambulance. Rebecca rode with them, holding David's hand, tears streaming down her face, telling him to hold on, telling him she loved him. He was pronounced dead at 10:17 a.m., Holy Cross Hospital. Cause of death initially listed as cardiac arrest, pending autopsy and toxicology. Rebecca was devastated, inconsolable. The nurses had to sedate her. Hospital staff described her as a grieving wife overcome with shock and loss. The police responded as standard protocol for any unexpected death. 2 officers. Routine questions. Rebecca explained David had been sick for months, multiple doctor visits, unexplained symptoms. She'd been worried something serious was wrong. The officers noted her distress, expressed condolences, told her they'd need to wait for the medical examiner's report. Standard procedure. Rebecca nodded, understood, said she'd cooperate with anything they needed. She appeared to be exactly what she seemed, a wife who'd lost her husband suddenly, tragically, unexpectedly. But one detective wasn't entirely convinced. Before we continue with what happened next, if cases like this matter to you, if you believe justice needs to be served even when killers seem perfect, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. Here on this channel, we expose the truth behind seemingly perfect crimes. We show how forensic science catches killers who think they're smarter than everyone else. Hit that like button if you think this case deserves attention. Drop a comment with your thoughts, because this isn't fiction, this is real. And what happens next proves that even the smallest mistake can bring down the most calculated killer. Detective Sarah Park had been with Montgomery County Police for 14 years, Homicide Division for 7. She'd seen enough unexpected deaths to know when something felt off. David Chen's death bothered her, not because of any obvious red flag, but because of the timing, the progression, the way the symptoms had escalated so quickly that final morning after months of gradual illness. She requested David's complete medical records, reviewed every doctor's visit, every test, every diagnosis attempt. The pattern was strange, symptoms that came and went, never quite severe enough for hospitalization, always improving just enough to avoid emergency intervention, until suddenly, catastrophically, they didn't. Detective Park also noted something else. Rebecca was a pharmacist, someone with extensive knowledge of medications, their effects, their dosages, their potential for harm. She requested the autopsy be expedited, asked the medical examiner to run comprehensive toxicology, not just standard drug screens, everything. The autopsy took place on September 25, 2023, 3 days after David's death. The medical examiner found signs of acute digoxin toxicity, extremely elevated levels in David's blood and tissue samples, levels consistent with a massive overdose, not therapeutic use, not accidental ingestion. Murder. Detective Park obtained a search warrant for the Chen residence on September 26th. The forensic team spent 9 hours processing the house. They collected medications, supplements, vitamins, anything pharmaceutical. They found the digoxin bottle in the kitchen cabinet, prescription dated 18 months prior, issued to Rebecca's mother, Margaret Walsh, who died in March 2023. The bottle should have been disposed of. Instead, it was in Rebecca and David's kitchen, still half full. Detective Park brought Rebecca in for questioning on September 27th. Rebecca came voluntarily, said she wanted to help, wanted to understand what happened to David. The interview started gently. Detective Park expressed condolences, asked Rebecca to walk through David's medical history, his symptoms, his treatments. Rebecca was articulate, detailed. She described months of trying to help David feel better, adjusting his diet, researching his symptoms, supporting him through multiple doctor visits. Then Detective Park shifted. We found digoxin in David's system, extremely high levels. Were you aware he was taking digoxin? Rebecca's face showed confusion, shock. No, David didn't take digoxin. He had no heart condition. That doesn't make sense. Detective Park nodded. That's what we thought too, so we're trying to figure out how it got into his system. Do you have any digoxin in your house? Rebecca hesitated, just a moment, but enough for Detective Park to notice. I don't think so. I mean, my mother used to take it, but she passed away in March. I'm sure I threw out her medications. Detective Park leaned forward. Are you sure? Because we found a bottle in your kitchen, still half full, prescribed to Margaret Walsh. Rebecca's expression shifted, calculation behind her eyes. Oh, I must have missed that one. I thought I'd disposed of everything. I should have been more careful. Detective Park let the silence sit. Then, the bottle has your fingerprints on it. That makes sense, right? You probably touched it when cleaning out your mother's things. Rebecca nodded. Yes, exactly. I must have put it in the cabinet and forgot about it. Detective Park continued. Here's what's interesting though. We also found your DNA inside the bottle. Not just on the outside. Inside. On the capsules themselves. Can you explain that? Rebecca's face went pale. I don't know how that's possible. Maybe I opened it at some point, checked if the pills were still good. I don't remember. Detective Park's tone hardened. Mrs. Chen, we also reviewed your home security footage, the cameras in your kitchen, from the morning David died. Rebecca said nothing, just stared. We see you opening that digoxin bottle. We see you emptying capsules into David's coffee. We see you stirring it. We see you serving it to him. All of it, on camera. Rebecca's breathing quickened, hands trembling. That's not what happened. You're misinterpreting what you saw. Detective Park slid a still image across the table, screenshot from the security footage. Rebecca's hand, the pill bottle, the coffee mug. Unmistakable. Explain this to me then. What am I misinterpreting? Rebecca stared at the image, tears forming. She didn't speak for 47 seconds. The interview room silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Then she broke. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted him sick. Not dead. Just sick enough. Detective Park kept her voice neutral. Sick enough for what? Rebecca's voice was barely a whisper. Sick enough to need me. Sick enough to depend on me. He'd been distant, cold. I thought if he needed me to take care of him, he'd remember why he married me. Detective Park let her continue. I started with small doses, just enough to make him feel bad. I'd nurse him back. He'd be grateful. We'd be close again. But it wasn't working. He was just getting frustrated, angry, pulling away more. So you increased the dose? Rebecca nodded. I thought maybe if he was really sick, scared, he'd see how much I loved him, how much I did for him. But this morning you gave him a lethal dose. Why? Rebecca's tears were genuine now, devastation and realization hitting simultaneously. I was angry. He'd talked about leaving, about separation. After everything I'd done, everything I'd sacrificed, he was going to leave me. So you killed him. Rebecca's voice broke. I didn't think it would kill him. I thought he'd just get really sick. I'd call 911. He'd survive. He'd be grateful I saved him. But you didn't call 911 right away. You waited. You went to Starbucks. You sat in your car. Rebecca couldn't answer, just sobbed. Mrs. Chen, David was alive when you got home. He was convulsing but alive. You stood there and watched him die for 3 minutes. Then you called 911. Why? Rebecca's answer was chilling in its honesty. Because I realized it was easier this way. If he survived, he'd know. He'd leave me anyway. But if he died, I'd be the grieving widow. People would feel sorry for me. I wouldn't lose everything. The confession was recorded, documented, used against her in trial. Rebecca Chen was arrested on September 27, 2023, charged with first-degree murder, premeditated, calculated, domestic violence homicide. The evidence was overwhelming. Security footage, DNA analysis, toxicology reports, digital evidence from her phone showing she'd researched digoxin toxicity, symptoms of poisoning, and how long it takes someone to die from cardiac arrest. Her search history was damning. August 14, 2023. How much digoxin is lethal? August 29, 2023. Can digoxin poisoning be detected in autopsy? September 10, 2023. Symptoms of heart attack versus digoxin overdose. September 21, 2023. How long until digoxin takes effect? She'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months, building to that final morning when she decided David was worth more to her dead than alive. The prosecution also presented evidence of financial motive. Life insurance policy on David worth $750,000. Double indemnity clause for accidental death. Though murder wouldn't qualify, Rebecca had clearly hoped his death would be ruled natural causes given his months of documented illness. The trial began on March 4, 2024, lasted 3 weeks. Rebecca's defense attorney argued diminished capacity, claimed she was suffering from severe depression and anxiety, that she hadn't intended to kill David, that it was a tragic accident caused by mental illness and poor judgment. The jury didn't buy it. The security footage was too clear, the DNA evidence too solid, the timeline too calculated, the confession too detailed. Rebecca Chen had methodically poisoned her husband over months, had researched lethal dosages, had administered a fatal dose when she decided he was going to leave her, had watched him die when she could have saved him. On March 27, 2024, the jury returned their verdict after 6 hours of deliberation. Guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read. Rebecca showed no emotion, sat perfectly still, hands folded on the table. David's family was in the gallery, his sister, his parents, his closest friends. They wept, relief, grief, justice, all mixed together. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge's statement was pointed, direct. Mrs. Chen, you are a trained pharmacist. You understood exactly what you were doing. You used your professional knowledge to poison your husband slowly over months. You documented his suffering. You built a false narrative of mysterious illness. And when you decided he was no longer useful to you alive, you administered a lethal dose and watched him die. You had opportunities to save him, you chose not to. You exploited his trust, his love, his vulnerability. This court sentences you to life in prison without possibility of parole. Rebecca Chen is currently incarcerated at Maryland Correctional Institution for Women in Jessup. She has filed appeals, all denied. She maintains that she never intended to kill David, that it was an accident, a mental health crisis, a terrible mistake. The evidence says otherwise. The security footage that captured her preparing poisoned coffee has been viewed millions of times, used in forensic training, criminal justice courses, domestic violence awareness programs. It's a reminder that cameras see everything, that forensic science is relentless, that even the most calculated killers make mistakes. Rebecca's mistake was DNA, microscopic traces inside a pill bottle, evidence she never considered, never thought to clean, never imagined would be tested. That DNA proved she'd opened those capsules, handled the powder, prepared the poison. Combined with security footage and her confession, it sealed her fate. David Chen's family established a foundation in his name, Advocates for Domestic Violence Awareness, focuses specifically on cases where abuse isn't physical but chemical, poisoning, drugging, medical manipulation. It's more common than people realize. Partners with medical knowledge using that knowledge as a weapon, slowly harming someone they claim to love. David's sister speaks publicly about the case, about the warning signs they missed, the months of unexplained illness, the way Rebecca always seemed so devoted, so caring, so concerned. She was devoted, just not to David's well-being, to her control over him. The case also prompted changes in how unexplained illnesses are investigated. Medical examiners now routinely test for unusual toxins in cases of sudden death following chronic mysterious symptoms. Rebecca Chen thought she was smarter than the system, thought her pharmaceutical knowledge gave her an advantage, thought she could poison her husband and call it natural causes. She was wrong. If this case shocked you, if you think Rebecca Chen's story deserves to be shared as a warning, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Leave a comment below. Do you think life without parole was the right sentence? What would you have done if you suspected someone was being poisoned? How do we protect people from those they trust most? This channel exists to expose cases like this, the calculated, the hidden, the ones where killers think they're too smart to get caught. We show how forensic science, security technology, and dedicated investigators bring justice even when it seems impossible. Hit that like button if you believe this case matters. Share this video if you think people need to understand that poison is still murder, that watching someone die is still murder, that using medical knowledge to harm is still murder. Rebecca Chen had 19 years with David, 19 years of marriage, partnership, shared life. She threw it all away because he wanted to leave, because her ego couldn't handle rejection, because she valued control more than love. David Chen was 53 years old, quality control specialist, dog lover, amateur photographer, brother, son, friend, someone with hobbies and dreams and people who cared about him. He trusted his wife, drank the coffee she prepared, never suspected the woman who kissed his forehead was the same woman who just poisoned him. That trust cost him everything. Rebecca is 54 now. She'll die in prison. No parole, no second chances, no possibility of freedom. David never got a second chance either. The security camera footage remains. Evidence preserved forever. Rebecca preparing coffee, opening pill bottles, stirring poison into a mug, carrying it to her husband with a smile. 37 seconds of footage that proved premeditated murder. DNA inside a pill bottle that couldn't be explained away. A confession that revealed the truth. Justice served, but a life still lost. Remember his name, David Chen. Remember that domestic violence isn't always visible, isn't always bruises and broken bones. Sometimes it's poison in morning coffee. Sometimes it's medical knowledge weaponized against someone who trusts you completely. Stay aware, stay safe, question unexplained illnesses, trust forensic science, and never forget that cameras capture truth that killers can't erase. Rebecca Chen thought she'd gotten away with murder, thought she'd covered her tracks perfectly. She was wrong. The DNA inside that pill bottle told a story she couldn't deny. The security footage showed actions she couldn't explain away. The toxicology report revealed a truth she couldn't hide. And now she'll spend the rest of her life behind bars, exactly where she belongs. This was David's story. This was Rebecca's crime. This is justice. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. Thank you for remembering that behind every case is a real person who deserved better.